Now, I remember talking to you in Phoenix when remember when they did that like MMA and boxing and wrestling and all that
Yes. When
Bisping
I
was
wrestled
there.
Ray.
You wrestled
right?
Ray, yeah.
Yeah. And Riff Raff, remember that guy?
Yeah.
So,
That whole pay-per-view was a piece of work. It was crazy. But you know what? Ray and I got paid a good bit of
yes,
money for that. It
yes,
was a great payday.
yes.
Yeah.
And I remember you. You know, you were like trying to get back into the WWE, and I remember when you had first gotten to TNA, you hated WWE.
Yeah.
And I've been
Well,
there, bro.
I was better.
Yeah, no, but bro,
I've been departing.
Bro, I've been there because I remember I've never loved anything in my life like I loved wrestling the first 10 years. Like I was a god in Mexico. And when I got to WCW, the first few years were a lot of fun because everybody was, hey, you know, we're all together. We're fighting together against WWE. NWO was hot and, you know, things were going good. But then when all the started, and we all know what I'm talking about, all the politics and all the started, I couldn't believe that something I hated I loved so much. I hated going to work, you know, and that was really hard for me. But anyways, I remember when you were there in Phoenix and you were trying to get back into WWE, you know, you had gone through your TNA dark days and all that, and you had gone back there. What was it like finally going back to the place that you wanted to get to? But then all of a sudden they start misusing you again. What was that whole journey like?
Well, I knew they were going to misuse me. I knew it from the beginning because my departing with WWE was really bad. Vince and I were not on good terms when I left. And I knew that when I came back, they weren't going to utilize me the right way. But I wanted to do it for the fans. I wanted to go back to where I started and finish my career in the WWE for all the fans that supported me throughout my career.
I think there's something to that because there's a lot of wrestlers that I could name right now that I've actually talked to that they left WWE and they're like, I don't know if I should go back because they're going to try to get back at me, and they always get back at you. They never forget, do they?
No, they don't. You're absolutely right. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, when you're on bad terms, they're not gonna let you forget that.
Right.
And that's what occurred with me.
Right, which to me is not good business. But go ahead.
But it seems like Vince McMahon always wants to get the last receipt. You know, he's
probably
right.
Yeah.
Right, he's probably just wired that way. He's like a competitor. He's like, I'm not going to let anybody get over on me in the end. And you can see that's the way he kind of like does business. You know,
without getting into specifics, what was your conversation like with him when you finally decided this is it, I'm done, and you're saying this is it, I'm done? What was that like?
Well, I met with him. What happened was I was having a lot of injuries and I was having some painkiller issues and everything was coming, you know, the whole world was crashing in on me. And I felt like I was really unhappy with the company and I wanted to get out. And so the last straw was when I wrestled RVD at a house show and I blew out my hamstring, my groin, and my abdominal muscle. Or all three of them.
How did just real quick? How did that happen? All in one
Rob
move?
Van Dam, I went to angle slam him and I lifted him on top of my head and had him up here and I spun him around to have him do a spinning DDT from up in the air. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, my leg got stuck and tore the hamstring. So my head hit the ground, but my leg was still planted on the ground.
Oh my God.
So I tore my hamstring and my groin out. And I did something with my abdominal muscle earlier in the match. So I was in a lot of pain. And I remember calling Vince McMahon and saying, hey, we need to set up a meeting. I can't do this anymore. Can we meet at the headquarters? So later on that week, we met at the headquarters. And I went in. And it was a really uncomfortable meeting. Vince
you were hurt. You were hurt when you went in there, right? You're still hurt when you go in there.
Yes. I was injured. Yeah. There was only a few days after the event. So Johnny Laurinaitis was in there with Vince, and Shane McMahon was in the meeting too. And when I sat down, he had like 5 pages of typed text messages and voice messages that I was sending him. And I don't remember some of these because, you know, some nights when I was taking so many painkillers, I was flying high. I was like not all there. And I was texting Vince. I was reaching out. And I was really unhappy and was getting injured a lot, and I had this really bad painkiller problem, and I had to do something about it. So these text messages and voice messages were all on the paper, 5 pages, and I'm reading them, and it's like it says, Vince, I'm going to kick your ass when I see you. Vince, I'm going to whoop your ass the next time I see you at TV. Like these text messages.
Did he hand you the piece of paper? Did he hand this to paper to you, or was he reading these?
He set it on the table in front of me.
Right. Okay.
And I'm like, holy I don't remember any of these. So,
right.
Vince stands up and says, hey, you want to beat my ass? Let's fight right now. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, holy my boss wants to beat my ass. And I look over at Shane, and he's halfway out of his seat, like, just in case I jump Vince. I'm like, okay, this is not a good situation. And I got up and I left. I left the room. I went outside. I was terrified. I started crying. I walked in, and I said, Vince, I can't do this anymore. If you don't let me go, I'm going to kill myself. And I didn't mean I was going to commit suicide. I meant I'm going to do something like overdose on painkillers or get so injured that something bad's going to happen to me in the ring. I just felt like my life was coming to an end, and I had to get out. And when I said I was going to kill myself, he put his hands up. He said, you're released. Go take a break. Come back in 6 months. I'll have the same contract ready for you. And that's what I planned on doing. But, when I took off, when I left, a lot of companies were offering me good contracts. TNA, a 7-figure deal. I mean, it was, and you're talking about wrestling part-time. Yeah. So they were giving me everything I wanted. And I'm like, why do I want to go back to WWE? I wasn't even happy there. And, so I'm thinking I need to, see what else is in store for me, what other companies would be interested. And that's why I signed with TNA. I knew I'd go back to WWE. I didn't know I would wait this long. I think I waited 11 years before I came back. But I had a great career in TNA, and I was very happy.
Yeah. Now, I thought go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to say it was interesting because when I was there at TNA for a while where you were there, and I remember like you come from the WWE system, and there's like a kind of a very specific way guys are taught in WWE. And like it was kind of the same way we worked in WCW. You had like a very basic structured way of working, right? So now you go to TNA, and I remember this is like when you were working with AJ. Okay, like AJ's very talented and stuff, everything, but like you started coming in, and now you're working with these guys that are from the indie structure, right. Like indie workers and everything. And I remember like when I had a conversation with you one time, and it's like going over a match with AJ sometimes was like pulling teeth because he always wanted to do like so much stuff and like let's do this, but like 6 spots here and everything. What was the adjustment like working like outside the WWE system and working at TNA? Does it like did you feel it kind of like hey these guys work differently? Did you feel that at all?
Well, I felt like TNA they had they gave you more ability to use your own creativeness, and WWE was very limited. They would tell you a certain time frame, what you can't do in the ring at particular times, what you can do. You can't leave the ring during your match. You can't use a weapon. You can't low blow anybody. There were a lot of rules in WWE, but in TNA, there weren't any rules. You could do whatever you wanted. It was pretty much an open game.
A lot of micromanaging, right, in WWE?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I understand that. I mean, they are a publicly traded company, and they have to answer to their shareholders. So it's one of those things where they have a huge responsibility on their shoulders.